Namaste, angels. I hope I'm capable of getting this together in a concise way because I have so much stuff that I want to let out of my mouth or out of my head, and I feel like I'm going to be in rare form today. Um, let's get into this Muslim look, though. Wait a minute. Okay. It could be a Jewish look, too, actually. Now that I think about it. My daughter's teacher used to dress like this and have her hair tied up like this. She was Jewish. Today's a Jewish feast day. So here comes the real form because I haven't talked about religiosity or religion or feast days and anything in a long time. Today's the feast of Esther, though, so that may mean something for somebody. It's the feast of the fast of Esther, which precedes Purim. It's like Purim Eve. Although today is Saturday, I'm recording this reading on Saturday for tomorrow, it's Sunday. So today is technically the Sabbath day. Sabbath started last night, and I think that when these feast days fall on a Sabbath, that something changes. I don't know if they hold it on the same day or not. Um, but I'm pretty sure today is the fast of Esther, the sixth. Yes. Um, also, I randomly, subconsciously, maybe pulled out my Ascended Master cards this week and shuffled to Mary. She's at the bottom of the deck. So Mary has two feast days this week too. One on the 8th, which is Monday, the feast day of Our Lady of Lujan. Um, that's the one with the bulls that wouldn't move. The oxen, they refused to move. That's that one, Our Lady of Lujan. I've told this story many times. Some of you have been watching me for a long time, and like you, and especially recently, I've gotten so many of these. I've been watching you for 6 years. I've been watching you for 7 years. Um, it's really touching. Thank you. But those of you who've been watching me for a long time know that I used to like read all these stories to you or tell all these stories to you, the ones that I knew from memory very well and stuff like that. So that was one of them that we've talked about before in the past. On Saturday, Saturday should be the 13th, which would be the first month of the feast, the 6 month feast days of Our Lady of Fatima. So when that one comes up, that one's near and dear to me, as you guys know, those of you who've been watching me for a while, because June 13th, which is the larger feast day of Our Lady of Fatima, because that's the one that's recognized as being where she returned not only to the kids but to the townspeople and revealed herself to the entire town of Fatima. That the kids weren't lying and she was, she really existed. Um, so that's June 13th, 1917 that occurred. So as soon as the feast day Our Lady of Fatima comes up in May, when May starts, Gemini's, people that are into the zodiac, they start saying like the Gemini's are coming next, right? Or the Gemini's are on their way, they're coming. And so the month of May is enough, but when May 13th comes around, for me, that's more when we start to feel real. Like my birthday's gonna be coming around soon. And I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do, and I gotta lose some weight, and I gotta do. When I start to really think about like everything. Anyway, um, so other decks of cards that I've pulled out, a lot of air energy. This could be courtesy of Mercury and Mercury retrograde, which is through the 14th. So, like I said, this reading is through the 13th, and then the following week, the Sunday would be the 14th, the last day of Mercury retrograde, and then Mercury would go, or the day that Mercury goes direct. So maybe that's why he's here, sort of here with a vengeance this week. We got a Knight of Swords, and he looks pretty riled up and pissed off, and is handling some business here, pushing somebody away. There's a heart-shaped shield flying through the air. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's backwards, but I can still tell that it's heart-shaped. So that could be, getting into one of the other things that's in my head that I'd like to get out of my and I'd like to get out of my mouth this week. And it's about men. I think it's specifically about men. And I'm not trying to be you know, uh closed to other genders and identities and sexualities and stuff like that. But I think it's really about men, not men in the sense like, oh, you're not a real man, not in an emotional sense. I mean, as in males, males, right? The male gender. Um, and it's possible that this is true of other genders that I don't know because I haven't experienced it, but or observed it. But men tend not to leave relationships even when they're miserable. Um, so here we have somebody making a decision, and it very well may involve their heart, because again, that heart-shaped shield is flying out of the right. Behind that card is an Eight of Cups, and we see somebody in the background of a male figure has walked away. This woman is left here holding the cup. The card behind that is the Two of Pentacles, and somebody is probably trying to make a decision and possibly juggling more than one relationship or more than one situation, more than one experience, and really feeling like they need to choose one because they're not happy juggling. Now, I've also seen energy of not being happy. This is why I want to talk about this. In as I was shuffling the decks and stuff too, one of the let's see, I have a bunch of decks here. Here's another tarot deck. This one also with the air energy on the top. I'm gonna make a mess. This one is the Page of Swords. Oh, come on. We're not gonna do this today, are we? Okay, that's pretty good. This one is a Page of Swords. This guy's so buff and stuff, though. He really comes across to me as a knight pretty much every time I pick up this deck. And you see, my voice is getting like I don't have a cold or anything, but it's getting like kind of hoarse. So this I feel is about communication. There's a bird in the picture too. Birds tend to be about communication for me. Did we get into the Muslim look though? Salam alaikum. Or again, Shabbat Shalom. Didn't realize I looked like this um, until I saw it in the camera. Anyway, I just feel like even with the shirt and everything, the way my chest is covered, you can't see my breasts or anything. It's just looking very like I'm on my way to service or left service or I've been in prayer or something like that. So this Page of Swords I think has a message, and the Page of Pentacles is behind him in reverse. Somebody could be wondering why you haven't given them a message. Like they're expecting you to be the one, not that you should be, but they're expecting you to be the one to have to contact them. Possibly with an apology with the Page of Pentacles in reverse, followed by the Ten of Cups in reverse, and the Knight of Wands in reverse, and Six of Wands in reverse, and then the Nine of Pentacles upright. So there could be like a feminine energy who's, doing very well for herself or appears to be. Maybe if there was a breakup or something or a separation, she appears, at least to the masculine, to have moved on. Um, Behind this woman with the Nine of Pentacles is the Five of Swords upright, and it's a very like violent Five of Swords. Can you see that good? I don't know if that's a little better, I think. Um, the Hierophant in reverse. So we could be talking about like a long-term relationship or real commitment, possibly even a marriage, um, or just a real bond between these people who are now separated. Probably some sort of divine counterpart situation, and one or both in a had been or are currently in a separate commitment, long-term relationship, possibly even marriage. More likely, again, the masculine is the one that's married, and he may have the nerve to be waiting for you to be the one to contact him. It's like, bro, you're married. I don't know when I can call you. I don't know when I can text you, or maybe I don't want to. Maybe I don't feel comfortable doing it because you're married. You got to be down with OPP, right? To do it, and you got to be like fully down with it in order to be able to reach out to somebody, even if you know the story or have heard the story, or we're not really together, we sleep in separate rooms, we don't have sex, I can't, all of that. Some people still are gonna find challenges, or like meetings in person and something like that. You got to be really, really bold to meet with a married person like in public, and kiss them the way you want to kiss them, and so some people have a problem with that kind of thing, and that may be why you could be waiting for this feminine to reach out to you, masculine, if you're watching, and she hasn't, or she's hesitant to, and you may not realize that. You probably there like, oh, she's not reaching out because she doesn't care. But think about how difficult it must be for a person that you share a kind of bond with, that basically can't, get near you, can't get next to you because you're in another commitment. And I was seeing evidence of this, so I wanted to talk about this. Wow. When I was shuffling the cards, I saw cards like the Ten of Wands, like the sense of being overburned, and the Eight of Cups, like wanting to walk away from that. Um, and there was a lot of like masculine energies that were showing up too, like the King of Swords, who can be very stubborn and, maybe take a long time to leave. The Hermit, which represents the energy of Virgo. And Virgos, I think male or female, they tend not to leave. They just, or they, like a Virgo will stay in a relationship literally like until the wheels fall off, and it has to be like really horrible. They don't care how miserable they are. I don't understand it, but it's a trait of theirs. So anyway, I was seeing all these kinds of cards, and this is what made me feel this way. Like I got to talk about the fact that men don't leave typically, and why, because this is a journey about lessons, why that's one of the biggest lessons on this journey for that, group, cohort, to whom it applies. Like you got to be able to cut your losses and get out. Um, we got a Two of Wands here. Two of Wands is the twin flame card of the tarot. I'm noticing that the wands are in the shape of an X. So for some of us, this bond that you have, that you may feel as a twin flame connection or a soulmate connection or some other sort of divine counterpart connection, is with an X of yours. Behind that, we have the Tower, and this man, this male figure, has walked away from a house, a building, or something that appears to be on fire. He's letting it burn, as Usher said. I just remember, I don't know if I mentioned this to you last week, because I heard this song last week. Hadn't heard it in years, possibly since I was a little girl. It was a song by Teddy Pendergrass, and I know I've talked about Teddy Pendergrass before in songs of his, but not this one. This was the song "I Don't Love You Anymore," and I felt that it was about um, not the divine beings, obviously, so even in separation, but about somebody that the divine feminine was with, maybe she's with a karmic, or the masculine is with, he's with karmic, and that relationship being over. It just popped into my head again when I looked at this card. Because again, and the letting it burn. He's like, whatever was in this household, he's walking away from it, and very casually, right? He doesn't look stressed about it. Like he's made, that was a decision that he consciously made. Then we got strength behind that, and so maybe that's why, right? He's had the strength to cut his losses. Um, and here we have a female who similarly, I mean, I've had that look. I know how that, I know how it feels I know what that look means, right? And look at the kids behind her. They're arguing. This is probably like a depiction of a family that the father's not there, right? He's not pictured. This is the Nine of Wands. This woman, this mother, she can't take it anymore. She's absolutely miserable. She feels like she's at the end of her rope. That's what the Nine of Wands means. I'm noticing that they have four back here alone, like a Four of Wands. That would be like a happy relationship. They got the five here next to her. That's the fighting. That's the anger. Um, so that happiness, it's behind her. It's behind them. They're not happy anymore. They are miserable. And they've been arguing in front of these kids, and that's why the kids are so violent. I mean, look at them. They're setting a poor example, which is which is the reason why I personally feel like people should leave. And I'm not necessarily one to talk. I had to learn the lesson the hard way. Like I said, I know that face. I know what it means to feel like that. I stayed in my relationship way too long, and I thought that I was doing it for a long time for my kids. Like, let me not leave their father. And then I guess as I matured, 'cause I got married very young too, um, and it took me long enough to mature and figure this out. But as I got older, I was like, this is not a good example for my kids either. Like, I didn't want to leave their dad because I thought that would be bad for them. But showing them, and this is my male child and my female children, um, and then some are hetero, some are not, right? Some are LGBTQIA. So all identities, right? It's not a good example for any of them to see, this kind of just a relation, such an unhealthy relationship between adults that are supposed to be in love or having an otherwise loving relationship. We didn't have one. Um, we could get along really much, as friends, and maybe that was part of the facade too. Like the fact that we were able to get along so well, but like romantically, we were not meant. We were not meant, or we were meant for a season, and the season had ended, and we had stayed in it. Which is like that the world energy. Like I always say, the world tends to, for me, the way I read it, it's a card that shows up where the universe is helping you to ease out of something that you should have left a long time ago, whether it's a relationship, a living condition, a job, whatever. Anyway, I could go on and on about that, but one of the other cards that I'm seeing here is death. So we got the Scorpio energy. Something's coming to an end, and I'm noticing, the candles too. Here, she has sort of one of the candles sort of blocked out with her arm. So there's only one candle that's prominent, and over here there are two candles. So there's like a happy relationship or a bond, or like a twin flame bond, and then there's a relationship that's over. Like the spark is out, the fire is out on this one, and there's just one thing burning here. And then the next card is this Knight of Cups, which looks kind of like a Three of Cups because there's three people in it. So this is very interesting too. I'm not sure. I'm not going to take our time up because I realize I haven't even started the reading yet, and I've taken up a lot of time. Now that I say that, I look at the clock and I see the time. How much time I've been talking to you guys. Um, Hopefully in an engaging way that you're not bored. Um, but okay, so let's talk about men not leaving while I'm shuffling some of these other cards. So talk about all the air energy on this other deck. Here's the Ten of Wands again. It's here behind the Ace of Swords. So this is the Modern Witch Tarot. This is the after the tarot, the Knight of Swords in the bottom. This is the before the tarot with the Page of Swords in the bottom. I had the Rider Waite tarot here too. What is that? Okay. Here's the Rider Waite tarot with the Hierophant on the bottom. So there's our commitment, perhaps. Also, I just thought about again, um, King Charles's coronation is today. I'm doing this reading on Saturday. Um, as I mentioned. We also have High Honor, speaking of the coronation, on the Kipper card. And King Charles is a good example. Behind this Hierophant, by the way, there's another Knight of Swords. King Charles is a good example because he didn't leave or want to leave, right? He was miserable in his relationship. In fact, he had another woman the whole time, Camilla, who's now his wife. Um, the way they tell it to the public, at least. Oh, I didn't tell you this. In the bottom of this one, we have transformation, some more scorpionic energy, in addition to that death card. Um, I think I did go over those. Anyways, I'm gonna start shuffling. But yeah, he was with Camilla before, and sort of with her the whole time that he was married, and wasn't gonna leave Diana, right? She had to divorce him, and then he allegedly believed it. A lot of people believe had her killed. I'm looking for the card that's going to most directly represent the collective this week from the Before the Tarot deck. Using that deck for that card. If one doesn't come out, I will pull it off the top. We'll go through one more time. If one doesn't come out, I'm gonna pick whatever card ends up on top. Um, yeah, so he didn't leave her. You got a hangman in reverse. So someone has changed their perspective at the bottom of the deck. Someone has changed their perspective. They hung upside down so long that you see all this like it's illuminated. He's had an epiphany. The blood rushed to his head and he's had an epiphany. There it is. So now he's this way, ready to make some sort of change. And I'm looking at how his arms are raised above him. Um, Usually when somebody's pointing up, it becomes like an as above, so below. He's going to bring that epiphany and what he's been experiencing or seeing in his 5D eye and right, in his 5D reality, and bring that down into his 3D reality. So whatever decision he's made about whatever. All right, so I'm just going to take the card off the top as promised, and it's the King of Wands that most directly represents us this week. Maybe particularly a Leo. So if this is not you, then could be someone else that's very prominent in your life this week, and maybe specifically a Leo. It can also be about taking the lead on something. Um, Again, maybe being the one to leave a relationship. We have also Aries and Sagittarius, of course, represented by the King of Wands. In fact, it is Sagittarius that the card traditionally in tarot represents. The King of Wands is a Sagittarius. I'm going to take another deck now. This is the after the tarot. I'm going to get the card for the surrounding energy. This reading is going to be longer than I anticipated or that I wanted or planned because I talked so damn much. Um, yeah, but we were talking about. So you think that Camilla thought she was going to be queen? I mean, I think originally she did. When she got with Charles, they probably didn't anticipate his mother living forever. But she probably like gave up on the idea of ever being queen. And now look at her. Speaking of queen, the card that has popped out. Oh, it's more than one. Okay, wait a minute. Hmm. Hmm. All right. Few cards I got to show you from this deck. So the card that popped out is the Queen of Cups, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. It also fell out with this Ten of Wands. So again, speaking about being overburdened and wanting out of a particular relationship or situation, right? Because for everybody, it's not going to be about a relationship. Now, otherwise, in addition to those two cards, I ended up with somehow with like two piles of cards in my hands from the deck. At the bottom of one is the Knight of Swords, with which we started. At the bottom of the other is the King of Swords, which I mentioned. I told you I saw this as I was shuffling. This King of Swords has his sword embedded in the ground. Right? He's not in defensive mode. He's not even on the offense right now. He's just chilling. He may have just received this bird with a message, or he may be getting ready to send it out to somebody else with a message, some sort of communication that is, I think, in truth and honesty. Which pile's bigger? When I end up with two piles in my hand like that, I like to see, and they're like the same size. They're like it's the deck is like equally divided. Let's put the King of Swords in the bottom. So we want these two cards for surrounding energy, the Queen of Cups and the Seven of Wands. I mean, I'm sorry, I was calling this Seven of Wands. It looks kind of like the Seven of Wands, right? It's the Ten of Wands. I guess we do. We spent enough time. um, Yeah, so now because it also says something, I guess, about soulmates because when Camilla saw her man marrying another woman, she probably thought that was the end too. I'm sure she didn't expect him to allegedly kill her. I'm sorry, it's not funny. Um, and Diana was such a beautiful person, like inside and out, like human being. Like you could tell just by seeing her on TV and her behavior. She could tell she's a beautiful person. So I shouldn't be laughing. So I'm not laughing at her. That's for sure. Um, all right, one more time, and if nothing comes out, again, I'm gonna put it off the top. This is for work and finance. But she saw her man getting married, and she probably thought they were never going to be together. And then they were. And then not only have they remained together, but she's going to be queen now. You know, she's probably like, who saw that coming? So just now, I just randomly opened up this deck, and I opened to the Ten of Wands. I don't see it anymore, but I did open to the Ten of Wands, like sort of playing with the cards in my hand. But otherwise, at the bottom of the deck is another Hangman. This one is not in reverse, though. This one is he's still in Hangman position. And the card at the top that's going to represent our work and finance this week is the Three of Wands in reverse. This is the Modern Witch Tarot, um, with Major Arcana card Strength at the bottom. And we're looking for the love and relationship part of this deck. Another example is maybe Will and Jada. Speaking of Virgos, I think she's a Virgo. And speaking of Virgos that don't want to leave, even when it's obviously turned into a shit show. Wow. Guess who's at the bottom of the deck now? Another hangman. That's the third hangman. For work and finance, I'm sorry, love and relationship. They're the Page of Wands. So there could be some offers and things coming forward, perhaps small. But then again, if they're coming from the King of Wands, perhaps big. We need two more cards. I had how many tarot decks did I have here? I don't remember. I'm trying to use different ones. This is physical health card. And again, if nothing comes out, we'll do it. Hmm. It's two cards. Okay. Hmm. Um. Hmm. Two cards came out together. They are the Queen of Pentacles in reverse and the Queen of Swords in reverse. In addition to that, I ended up with the two piles in my hand again. One of which has the Two of Cups on the bottom in reverse, and one of which has the Lovers on the bottom. Now, this is the major part of the deck, so this is what I'm going to leave on the bottom. But the Lovers on the bottom of the deck. So maybe a decision about with the King of Swords immediately behind the Lovers. King of Swords, which is most directly a Libra, as in justice, um, behind the Lovers. So it could be about a decision that we're having to make, heart versus head. Again, are you happy? You unhappy? You're miserable? Should you stay? Should you go? Um, Here we have Gemini, Libra, Aquarius energy, especially Gemini, again, with the Lovers having shown up, as well as the Queen of Pentacles, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. It's like my whole chart. Showed up. Oh man. I'm a Gemini Sun, Aquarius Moon, and a Virgo rising. So there's my Queen of Swords and Queen of Pentacles. Anywho, spiritual health. Got the rider weight here. Um, so Will and Jada. So when Jada and Will met, Will was married, and you know, she wasn't down with OPP, and so she was like, I can't, get involved with you when you're married. And he was like, okay. He wasn't leaving his wife though. His wife up and surprised him. One fell out. Oh, okay. The, they showed me the tower in reverse. At the bottom of the deck is the Nine of Swords in reverse. And the card that fell out for spiritual health is another Queen of Swords in reverse, which is why I like to use more than one deck. So, in case cards want to repeat themselves or need to repeat themselves. So, for physical health and spiritual health, Queen of Swords in reverse. Speaking of repeating cards, we also have at the bottom of the decks, I'll remind you, two hangmen, which represents the energy of Pisces, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that before. Um, a lot of major arcana. Two hangman, one lover's card, and one nine of swords in reverse of the four different tarot decks that I use for this reading. Um, so we'll talk about the King of Wands, and we'll finish our story about Will and Jada, or I'll try. So the King of Wands is a very, passionate, masculine energy, very adventurous. He's a risk taker. He's supportive. So this doesn't have to be only in romance. This is his persona. So even in situations involving work, employment, with the King of Wands upright, there's possible, strong possibility that there is maybe an older man than you, or masculine energy, who is, he's learned, he's knowledgeable about what's going on there at the establishment wherever you work, and very helpful to you, very supportive of you, can give you, wise advice, and like he has your back when something is going against you unfairly and that type of thing. So it's not just for love and relationship. And if this is you perhaps being of that persona and being like a real genuine leader and boss type and able to advise other people on what they should be, what their next move should be in a very genuine sort of way. Um, again, may very strongly involve a Leo and then a Sagittarius and then an Aries, like in that order, if it involves a person. There's something else I wanted to say about this king that actually keeps coming to me and then I keep losing it. So in the meantime, I'll go back to Will and Jada and finish them. So he didn't leave his wife. She divorced him finally, and that's when he got with Jada. And now he's miserable with Jada. But you see, he's not leaving again. But then she's not leaving him either, probably because she's Virgo. So they're just going to be miserable together and I guess do what they got to do on the side. But a lot of people don't want to necessarily do that. They don't want to stay together just for the sake of staying together unless they're a man. So I've come full circle with the story. Um, do I want to say something else about the King of Wands? Or should I just move on to the Queen of Cups and the Ten of Wands? Two cards we have. So the Queen of Cups is probably one of the most loving cards in the deck. And she, like the King of Wands, is somebody who is going to be solidly in your corner. So wherever she's landing, even if again she's at work, she's somebody who's going to be, very helpful to you, very supportive of you. Um, which is not something which is something I think I didn't mention about the King of Wands. In love and relationship, he's particularly protective. He is somebody who, just wants to put you under his wing and and shield you. He's also somebody who is willing to take risks and to do whatever has to be done, to put the effort in to make the relationship work. Which, on one hand, could be him sticking out a miserable relationship and trying to put as much effort in it as possible to make it work. And on another hand, could be him, again, moving on to the person with whom he actually belongs, this divine counterpart, um, and being able to, although that looks like a mess, right? How do we make this work? You've been my side chick, Camilla. How do we make this work? I'm a king. How do I, actually make a relationship with you? He's the type of person that's willing to try, and to get that done. And speaking of Camilla, she actually is a water sign. So here, sitting next to this king, and the King of Wands, is, well, sometimes for me is a Scorpio, because it depends upon like the astrology at the time, usually, if I determine whether or not I'm going to count Scorpios. But Scorpios are in part ruled by Mars, right? Mars is their ancient ruler, their esoteric ruler. Um, King Charles is Scorpio. So we got two water signs here together, but this King of Wands and this Queen of Cups sitting here together could, be them. It could be anybody, obviously, but yeah, there's something about coming together with with whom you belong. They say like what's meant for you is not going to miss you, right? Um, so that's what's coming through right now. Even those who felt like they've been in separation and at a distance, and it's never going to happen. Like I said, Queen Camilla probably never she probably thought it's never going to happen. His mother's never dying. His wife is in the way. I'm not going to be the queen, even though we've been in love for all these years before the wife even showed up. And now look, it's happening because that was meant for her, so it's happening. Even that distance, that separation couldn't prevent it, couldn't cause it to not happen. Even in my own life, like I said, my children's father, my ex-husband, he wasn't leaving. When I told him I was divorcing him, he did not want to let it happen. Like he was just like, you know, and I'm like, it's not even bad. Like I said, we get along well as friends, so we can make this easy on the both of us. But he wasn't leaving me. I divorced him, and now he's remarried. He's the one that's remarried, and he was a career cheater. So she's probably one of the women, could be like a Camilla. Um, I don't know and don't care, but I'm just using it as an example because it's a real life example. And it's like I said, I know this from experience and from observation that the men will tough it out. So what makes this so huge in divine unions, with them actually being able to come into a King of Wands kind of energy and become a risk taker and somebody who's going to protect you and uphold you, and not let somebody reduce you or minimize you to the side chick. No, this is my queen. Um, Camilla. um, that's why it's such a tremendous lesson. It's such an incredible lesson. So this Queen of Cups is somebody who, like I said, is super loving, and supportive, but she might want out of a situation and or relationship with you because she's feeling overburdened, like I can't do this anymore. The Queen of Cups fell out with the Ten of Wands. So somebody in your surrounding energy, is feeling this way, or you're feeling this way about someone or something, a situation, in your surrounding energy. Like the Queen of Cups can just be representative of an energy too, of an energy maybe of transformation, of death, right? Queen of Cups most directly, traditional tarot, represents the energy of Scorpio. So it's Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, but most directly Scorpio. Transformation, death, change, changing from this feeling of being miserable and overburdened to somebody who is full of love and happy. How do I do that? I got to make some kind of move. So whether it's a change in career, whether it's a change in relationship, whether it's a change in living condition, whether it's a change in behavior, um, like realizing that you're the mother that's sitting there with your head holding while your kids are screaming behind you, yelling at each other in a way that's inappropriate. We got to make some changes here. We got to transform this. That brings us to the Three of Wands in reverse for work and finance. So the Three of Wands, um, it goes really well with this King of Wands because, like I said, this King of Wands is a leader. He's a risk taker. The Three of Wands says that we're going to take some sort of, leap, some sort of chance, um, in our life with regard to our work. Like maybe we're going to start our own business. Maybe we're going to, transfer to another location in order to take on a promotion that's doing something different than what we're usually doing, or we're in a new area because wands are about travel too. So I'm thinking about moving with the work, or for our work. um yeah, I was getting something else, I lost it. But anyway, this is about taking some sort of chances. And with regard to finances, similar to the upright meaning of the Three of Wands, with regard to money, it's about a turnaround. So like things and it's a turnaround for the positive, things getting better. But the trick is it's getting better directly tied to some sort of collaboration or partnership. Um, like the Three of Pentacles is about money and an increase in money too, but it tends to be directly tied to money that you worked for. It's like direct compensation. So this is similar. It's like, direct compensation for a collaboration, for a partnership, something that you work with somebody else on. And it could be talking about just the divine union in itself, um, or some sort of divine union, even if it's not a romantic divine union, like if two people are soulmates in the sense they're meant to work together, for example, meant to start a business together. Now, a lot of times this is the romantic counterparts that are meant for this sort of thing. When we come together, I think I talked about this last week. Um, we increase not only our abundance, but the abundance. I mean that love and abundance, it spreads throughout, and that's why we're meant to exist. Um, because when there's enough of us that have figured out how to come together, the love that's going to exude and change the vibration of the planet, raise the vibration of the planet. So that collaboration that you're coming into could just be your union, right? It might have nothing to do with your work per se, or with your finances per se, in a direct way. But because you are hooking up with Queen of Cups, again, one of the most loving romantic cards in the deck, energies, in the deck, whether that is for her closure in a situation and in the sense of endings and death, or that is for just the emotional connection and the spiritual, intuitive connection that you have with somebody. Again, that can go either way. You are partnering with this Queen of Cups or with this Queen of Cups energy, and that is allowing you um, to just like draw, be like a magnet for abundance. So um, think about what kind of partnerships you're in terms of this increase that's going to be coming to you, because it correlates. But money's good this week. Money's good this week. All right, it's if it hasn't been good, it's getting better. It's on the upswing. We got more wands. There's really, with the exception of this Queen of Cups, nothing but wands and swords in front of me. The King of Wands, the Ten of Wands sitting underneath the Queen of Cups, the Three of Wands, Page of Wands, and then the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Swords. Moving on to the Page of Wands, believe it or not, it's a card that talks about being in a long-term relationship in which you are unhappy. And it says that if that is you, um, then it's time, probably past time, that you began to think about, can this relationship be saved? Do I want to save it? And then both people have to feel that way, that they want to save it. And if that's the case, then you can work on it. And again, if that's you that wants to save it, the King of Wands is somebody who is willing to put in the effort to do that. In the same token, if that's not you and you're deciding that you're wanting to get out of that relationship, the King of Wands is a risk taker, and he's somebody who's willing to take the leap, and he'd be willing to put whatever effort he needed to put into in his other relationship, his future relationship. Okay. Um, Now, alternatively, you could be in a long-term relationship and not be unhappy, of course. And in that case, you might just have some really nice messages this week going between you and your partner, exchanging love messages. You guys may be talking about traveling, maybe actually traveling, again with the wands. And if you're single and, in the market, as they say, for a mate, um, with this single, I'm talking about even those of us who feel like we have a counterpart out there. So you feel like you have a twin flame out there. You feel like you have a soulmate out there, whatever. If you are in separation and you guys have no commitment between you, you are not meant, at least in this time, right now, this space. I do remember a time when we were sort of guided to wait, um, for the masculine to come back around, and he did. You know, this thing has been going on in phases and stages for years for some of us. But I'm feeling right now, in the past couple years and into the future, is a time where you are not meant to like stop your life. We're losing a lot of people, just worldwide. There's been so much death over the past couple years. And it's just to say, like, life is short, basically. You cannot stop your life waiting for somebody to come around. You're meant to keep moving. Um, so count yourself single, basically, if that's you. And if that is you and you're single, somebody just super adventurous, again, that wants to be a protector and a leader. Um, I find Sagittarius men so smart, um, so such good leaders, so romantic. Um, I only had one, but he was a great example. He's deceased, so talk about life being short. Um, this type of person wants to like burst into your life right now, and you should give them a chance and let them, if that's you. Again, something else or someone else is meant for you. They say that's going to come around, um, you know, and you're going to have it. Now, if you're like me, I don't want to take up time with this, but like I sort of have a limit, I think, of the amount of time or the age that I'm willing to be, um, not waiting, but I guess sort of in a holding pattern, hangman, while this, masculine figures out if he's going to come around or not. Um, and that's not to say that I'm stopping my life because I live, not necessarily romantically, but I go out. I'm very much involved in my community and stuff like that. So my life has not stopped while we're not together. Um, but I am one that views life in such a way as if I live it. First of all, men have a shorter life span than women. They tend to die first. I don't want to be in a position where you finally show up to be with me and it's only so that I can take care of you in your final years before you die. That's not I'm trying to enjoy life. So I guess ultimately in my case and perhaps some of you who are watching that think like this, it's not meant for you. It's still not meant for you because they say if it's meant for you, you're gonna have it. But if it shows up and you're no longer willing to accept it, what does that mean? Does that mean it was still meant for you? To me, that means it wasn't meant for you because I'm not gonna have it. I'm not interested in getting with somebody, when I'm 70, 80 years old. We can have a relationship, but I'm not interested in, being locked down and having you move into my house and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, some of the different ways to look at all these things. Let's move on to the Queen of Swords because what's interesting about the way that they're laying here, the two Queens of Swords, is that because they're in reverse, they're looking at the Page of Wands. So there could be not only messages going particularly to you, Queen of Swords types, and maybe actual Queens of Swords, actual Aquarians, or Geminis or Libras. If you're not one of those signs, just somebody who's very independent and who's sort of had it at this point is like, but like I was just talking, the way that I was just talking, venting, basically. I'm going to tolerate but so much. And I'm a queen of swords. I know how to cut stuff off and people off and things out of my life if it's not working. And that sort of thing, I'm a man or love, showing up when I've been on my own the whole time in the last days isn't something that I feel serves me, you know. And I felt like this for a long time, but I think I'm probably always going to feel like this. And so that would be something I would want to cut off. Um, but she's staring at the Page of Wands, or the Page of Wands staring at her. And so maybe she will be receiving a lot of these love messages and she can get softened up a bit. Um, there's also the opportunity of somebody, wanting to travel with her. Perhaps this King of Wands, if not asking her to travel with him, now this week, um this is something that's in his mind, and they may be at a distance, so that could be part of the problem. Like maybe your relationship hasn't come together because you're at some sort of distance. That's what the Three of Wands can be. And it may be like literal distance, like you live in one country, they live in another, or one state and they live in another, one city, they live in another. It's difficult to get to each other, particularly with things like work and stuff like that. Which again, the King of Wands, he may be a boss. It's like, I own the company, I can't just pick up and leave. Well, when you own the company you kind of can, but it might be like, I have to be here, or I'm the boss, I'm the manager, or whatever. I can't just pick up and leave. I got to work myself to death, which is why men don't tend not to live as long as women. That's what they do. They work themselves to death. Um, and so we should be, the lesson in here, the message in here, is that in both cases, I'm being an extremist, okay? And what I just said to you about me, that's an extreme. I'm being an extremist, and this King of Wands that's working himself to death, potentially, that's being an extremist. And we both need to find balance and be able to figure out how to come together. So anyway, there may be a distance, and so it could be trying to figure out how I can travel to you, or how you can travel with me, or how you can travel to me. Maybe you can move in with me because I have to work. I don't know. I'm getting a bunch of things from all these wands, because wands are about movement, wands are about travel, wands are about growth, wands are about expansion. Think Jupiter, think Mars, the planet of action, aggression. We're not just sitting around doing nothing. We are taking action to make things happen. So maybe, you live in another country, maybe you got to come move here. 90 Day Fiance. That was a lot. But yeah, it all came. So let's get into the two Queens of Swords now. Again, one is physical health and one is spiritual health. But I think it may be all sort of like one and the same, like it's affecting everything, mind, spirit, body. Actually, this first one is not just the Queen of Swords by herself, but it's the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Pentacles. So let's get into this. So the Queen of Swords in reverse for health can mean that I think the most important part of it is that if you're on any kind of medication or regimen, practice, whatever, like make sure you're remembering to take your medication, or if there's anything you're supposed to do, any kind of regimen or practice that you're supposed to be doing. Maybe you have to get a certain amount of exercise a day. Maybe you got to go to therapy, whether that's mental therapy or physical therapy, whatever. Make sure you're getting your appointments in. And if there are women in your cipher, women around you that you care about, this is also a good time to make sure that they're doing the same. Or if you feel like you are on top of your medical health, it could be about somebody that's surrounding you. Um, which brings me back to the Queen of Cups and the surrounding energy, right? The Queen of Cups is a nurturer, and we had Mother Mary also, with the nurture yourself. Remember that? So Queen of Cups, when she's upright, she is about being able to, sometimes she can still forget herself a little bit, but nurture herself and other people. The Queen of Swords is super independent and strong, and may ignore even potentially, like health problems. Like, I'm okay, and she got to take care of other people, and setting herself aside, which is another meaning of the meaning of the Queen of Pentacles, actually, in the position of health. So that's probably why they fell out together, because she is very nurturing and somebody who normally takes care of herself and her home and creates a home. Like everywhere she goes, she creates that sense of comfortability, and makes everybody feel good. And she's just on top of things. Her home is in order and all that. And Queen of Swords too. And they call her sometimes, like traditional practitioners will refer to the Queen of Swords as the Feng Shui Queen, because again, knowing how to take what doesn't work out and put what does work in, to make our life as best as possible. But this is about forgetting perhaps to take care of yourself and just like setting yourself aside and the need to carve out at least a few minutes per day, where you're just thinking about you and focused on you and taking care of you and maybe doing this nurturing yourself thing as Mother Mary suggested. Um, and it's for your health, like literally for your health. Now, to connect that to potentially some of these relationships that we're dealing with, and I'm also noticing that when these cards are in reverse, like I said, the Queen of Swords was looking at the Page of Wands. The Queen of Pentacles isn't. When she's in reverse, she's faced the other direction. Look at that. So whereas the Queen of Swords was looking at the Page of Wands, the Queen of Pentacles, her back would have been turned to him. So that could be another meaning there too. Like again, the Queen of Swords type is who is getting the messages, perhaps, or an actual Queen of Swords who's getting the messages, perhaps, from this Page of Wands. And if particularly if there was like a third party thing, it's the Queen of Pentacles, um, in reverse who's out. Um, Alternatively, it can be an energetic message, like the the energy of the kind of person who wouldn't show themselves love and therefore wouldn't necessarily be open and receptive to love from another, like the Page of Wands, is what's out, since the Queen of Pentacles is in reverse, is facing the other direction, and the Queen of Pentacles in reverse is somebody who would not be um, exhibiting, self love. Um, Also, what if you're having problems with your memory? You feel like something's not functioning right or you're having some sort of health issue, obviously seek a medical professional. Is the last message I'm going to give you about that Queen of Swords in reverse. Now, the Queen of Swords in reverse for spiritual health, which this one is from the Rider Waite deck. Our other Queen of Swords in reverse was from the After the Tarot deck. So this one that is representing the spiritual energy, there could be a, again, strong, um, independent woman. She does not have to be an air sign, but she very, very well may be, um, in your life, if this isn't talking about you directly, um, who from whom you're really going to benefit spiritually by like collaborating with her or accepting her mentorship. She can really like enrich your spiritual life right now. Um, if you connect with her. She's in reverse, so it could be challenging, could be difficult. So if we're talking about a romantic relationship, a twin flame relationship, I mean that's what that's all about, right? It's challenging, it's difficult, a lot of the time. But this masculine, this King of Wands, is ready for that kind of effort. He's ready to put in that kind of energy. He's ready to take on the leadership role and to say, okay, I'm learning that from you and you're enriching me, you're helping me to grow spiritually, but I got some stuff I can teach you as well. Like I said, my ex that was a Sagittarius, I'm not even sure he could read, to be honest with you. I've wondered that often. Can he read? The way that he would hand me the bills to pay, I'm like, can he not read? Well, or maybe he can't do math. Like, does he not understand the the bill? Um, there were other things that I would just like, ponder. Like, but he was so smart. Like in other ways. So we can always learn something from somebody. Um, if we, if our eyes are open and we're receptive to it. He was college educated, so maybe he could, but he was on a ball scholarship. You know how sometimes they don't make the athletes actually learn to read and stuff. So I always wondered about that. But anyway, that's not the point. The point that I was making is about being open to learning something from somebody, even those people that we don't necessarily associate with brilliance or intelligence often have something to share with us. And the King of Wands is definitely somebody who does. So with him. pouring into the Queen of Swords in reverse, and then the Queen of Swords pouring into him spiritually, even if they have some challenges to figure out how they're going to get there. They can get there despite any distance or whatever. They can get there. They can find this meeting, this union together because he's willing to do it and to not give up on her. So this reading is a lot longer than any reading I've done in quite some time, and I planned for it to be short, but I don't know. I hope that it gave you something. I hope it, we got something out of this Queen of Swords spiritually this week with this reading. And since I'm already like way over time, I may as well pull some advice cards. Well, these decks I pulled out. Okay. I got a lot from this one. Okay. At the bottom of the deck, we have courtship. I think we've had courtship on the bottom of the deck a couple times recently. Back. This week, I'm feeling that it has more so to do with like a prison of the mind. And again, trying to figure this stuff out with all the hangmans that we saw today. Just really trying to change the perspective and get out of an energy of being stuck and seeing things one way and not having our eyes fully open. With the feminine here, perhaps specifically, there is expectation. There's hope of something. There's message. Okay, so this supports the Page of Wands. There's communication that's coming in um, about a journey, a new journey. Says my battery is running low. The camera might stop. Um, there could be worries about poverty, or this could be not really a financial energy, but just a feeling of lowliness. Um, and needing to be uplifted, needing to be supported by a King of Wands, by a Queen of Swords, by a Queen of Cups. Lastly, we have message of concern. So this could be the same message that the masculine was sending in the other picture. From the Ascended Masters, what would they like to tell us? Anything? Okay, maybe that's all we're going to get from them. At the bottom of the deck, we have Go Now. So jump into action, like a King of Wands. Um, we have more cards than I thought. They're all the same color scheme. Father, brother, husband, son, Osiris. So there's a masculine energy with whom you need to heal a relationship, perhaps, and it could be yourself, right? This could be about going within, like the hangman, and coming to an epiphany, a realization, an understanding of where your next stop on the journey is. We also have positive change with power body. And we've seen, again, a lot of this indication that positive change is coming, not just in love, but also in finances, and other aspects of our life. When we do what? Get our priorities straight. When we decide what we want and what our truth is, and that we want to live in it, then everything else will fall into place. Lastly, from the twinflame oracle, hidden path just flipped over. Detour, slow down, explore, go in a new direction. Exactly. The bottom of the deck we had awakening. Okay, some more just fell out. All right, maybe that's it for that. At the bottom of the deck we have masculine. Your divine masculine, your twin or your soulmate is seeking you. What fell out? Loss. There's going to be some endings. Loss of self and identity. Wow. Um, yeah, sometimes in these relationships and experiences that we do lose our sense of self. And this King of Wands is definitely about finding that and making a strong comeback. Discover your true self again, your true self. Again, this week is about living in truth. I like how everything's being tied together now. Receive. Okay, we got to be open to receiving. Open-minded, abundant, ready. It's your time to receive. We have alone. Okay, this is probably tied to fears that have kept us back in the past. Abandoned, lonely, lost. The divine is within you. So this is also about self-love. Like You got to find that person first and love that person first, and then you'll be able to take on other relationships and love those people. Um, so that was my last deck, but I do have a tarot deck sitting here that I didn't use. And let's see if there's anything from there. We just got two or three that fell out. Okay. The bottom of the deck, I got the sun. Sun makes everything better. It's also about a clarity, right? Things being illuminated. What was done in the dark comes to light. So you could be finding out something that you did not know before that may cause you to, wow, want to get a divorce. We have the Empress, the Ten of Swords, which says certificate of divorce at the bottom, and justice that all fell out together. Right, there's justice. And it's these two people that look like they're in marriage therapy. So maybe some people are going to decide to work on their relationship. Think Page of Wands, right? Long-term committed relationship. Do you want to fix it or you don't? Others are going to decide, nope, we don't, and we're going to get a divorce. Justice, judgment. The Empress. This is the female, the feminine energy. Um, this is the mother. This is the wife kind of energy. This is fertile. This is growth. This is expansion. This is getting into newness. This heart down here looks like the heart shield from the other deck of cards. Um, but this could be a representation of either relationship. I mean, if you're looking at it from a tarot perspective, Justice and the Empress and this Ten of Swords, this could be, the wife of the long-term committed relationship that one is in, the karmic, and the end coming. And it's possible that it should have been in reverse. I just picked it up and turned them all around upright. But we see here certificate of divorce, and this looks like a wheel of fortune, like it's divine time for this relationship to end. And there was another heart symbol, it's on a mug this time. And look, his ring's on the table. This married guy has taken his ring off. So relationship coming to an end or has come to an end. You might not be aware of that yet. That could be what comes to light with the sun at the bottom of the deck. Um, Speaking of the hermit I was talking about earlier, the hermit is behind the sun. And we have another Queen of Cups here too. And another hanged man. You know. So all these energies repeating each other. So alternatively, this is the divine feminine, all fruitful and fertile and waiting for the masculine to come along, having ended his karmic relationship. Right. So in the end, what really matters is that all of them are getting justice, because if you're in a miserable relationship, it helps everybody for that relationship to end and for each person to have an opportunity to be in the right one, the one that is meant for you. What is meant for you will come around to you, will be. And that's what I have for you this week. It was long, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I hope it helps you